All right, we got our next Husky huddle. Last week we were talking with Administrator Phil Hutt. So we even though he's a former Uconn football player, we had to keep it super kosher. But this week
Of
we got
course.
the ever fired up former, not just UConn alum and superstar defensive lineman for UConn, Tyler King, but also the guy who runs the MMA Husky Talk podcast with Steve Cully. So he covers both sides. And by the way, I watched a couple of your fights on YouTube.
Ooh,
So
mixed results there.
yeah. I can't remember the two. I watched two of the fights. One was one you won. You beat the crap out of somebody. Another one was it was a battle, but the guy got you. I can't remember what it was. I got to go back. You know, it's in my history on YouTube.
Oh,
So I
it's
got.
all good, brother. It's all
It was
good.
great.
You
It was
probably watched
great.
the Lorenzo Hood fight where I beat the crap out of the guy. It was in PFL. He looked like a superstar. He was definitely a sheep in lion's clothing. So I mean, I got lucky there.
Yeah. I love it. I love that. I love that when you won too. You had all the promotions ready to go. You were like made
Yeah.
sure you got
Oh,
in front of your dude. On point.
you have
Absolutely.
to. Hey,
Let's,
A, it's money. B, you gotta be entertaining.
that's exactly right. Well, let's talk a little UConn football because they got Maryland this week. Home opener. I'm not home opener. Sorry, away opener at Maryland.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, and as we were kind of browsing some of
Yeah.
the guys coming back, it's interesting. And obviously, the first thing that we both noted as we looked is if you weren't a returning guy already, the guys
Yeah.
they filled the blanks in with were our transfer guys. I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious. What's your thoughts on the landscape of that, or is it it is what it is type of deal?
I mean, so obviously I played forever ago, but I mean, you're really looking at it. I don't know if it's exactly the right move, but the one thing is, the kids really got taken advantage of for a number of years. Me being one of them. Not that I'm a kid anymore, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
As far as having their lives controlled by a single position coach and the head coach, thinking about building depth. We look at college football coaches. No fault to them, because it is their living, but they have a bottom line. What's going to happen on Saturday? They're going to get that win. They're going to get that loss, and they're ruthless as far as stacking talent and building the best program they can, which you got to give them credit for. With that being said, the kids really had limited options, and I really think that if this step wasn't taken, and I say kids, they're all over 18, so they probably would something would have happened where there would have been some sort of collective or um what's what I'm looking for, some sort of I don't want to say union, but there would have been some sort of what's why can't I
I
think
mean,
of the
it may
word
be
right
going that way eventually because
now?
they're going
Yeah,
to
but
have.
like the oh, sorry to cut you off there, Dave. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
point I was making is the kids needed an option, and
Yep.
I think instead of trying to take some stab scheme concessions, maybe letting them get some sort of allowance from donors, having some sort of coalition where the big donors were putting into a fund and players got like a living expenses wage sort of thing like that. That's what the entire of the direction. I actually kind of love it because the most popular guys are making so much money right now, as they should, because they've been generating money for these programs for years. There should be something along the lines of a class action for ex players where we end up getting paid some sort of like out of some sort of fund, because back in the day, just local businesses would have given players great amounts of money just to promote like the local business or local eatery, local bar, whatever it may be. So these players have lost out for years. The thing is, it's just gotten so extreme. You got players at USC making millions of dollars, Power Six conference players, all superstars. They're making absurd money, which is beautiful because these kids should be making money if they're generating that kind of revenue for the university. They should make money off their own name. The fact they weren't able to make money off their own likeness, in my opinion, is just simply un-American.
Yep.
So it's refreshing to see. I'm glad these guys are actually able to make money off their likeness when they're in the prime of their life. But the landscape, like there's no loyalty anymore, and it's good for the players. I think it's kind of bad for the programs. But then again, in college football, these institutions, these big programs, they'll endure regardless. So I really am shedding no tears for them losing a couple $1 million.
I think you bring up some good points too. Although I don't know if you read that UConn, there talks about them going to the Big 12, which would be
Yeah,
pretty
oh yeah,
helpful.
I've read that a little
Read
bit.
that, yeah. So it could be very helpful for them and their collective for the players, right? As they start to,
Oh, of course.
I
And
mean,
I mean, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go.
No, Big 12 historically. I mean, right in the middle of the pack of the Power Six. They've never really been the top conference. They've never really been at the bottom. They've always been super competitive. Pumped out several different historic programs like Nebraska, um, Texas, and won their share of national championships. So like that kind of brand recognition will be really good for the players. And like I said, both like I'm sure like around stores, the stores Mansfield area, local businesses are just, back when we played, we'd have the certain establishments we'd go to. We'd have the certain
Yeah,
businesses we were friends with that would always help us out. But now they can actually give these players like living wages, money, compensation, and hopefully being in the Big 12 conference really boost and parlay that into big NIL deals for the kids from companies with a little bit more of a national recognition.
well, UConn had in the state of Connecticut, I should say.
Yeah,
There's obviously, if you just, it's the insurance capital of the world, right? So just in Hartford alone, there's so many insurance companies. Then you got GE
yeah,
Cap way down below towards, I think, Stanford, right? And then, which
yeah.
is one of the biggest companies in the world. And then you got, and then locally, I think you're 100% right. Like, listen, I used to love to go to Huskies. I enjoyed Ted's. There's a
Dude, the
barbershop
core
below.
pub, the Civic Pub rather, the Civic Pub.
Civic Pub, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There was a barber shop below there that I used to go to get my. You probably did too,
yeah.
right?
I
Yep.
don't remember the barbershop, but like I'm simply saying, like I think it's a true crime that the people of Connecticut never got. And this is Tyler King, sponsored by the Hartford and the Civic Pub.
Yep. I would have loved that too. I would have loved to see the ads too, like
Yeah,
the ads of you coming in. The Civic Pub ad would be like, make sure you're there for. I don't know what it is now, but I remember back when I was like, it was like Nickel Night or whatever. I don't know if they still did those kind of things.
Nickel. No, Nickel. That was Husky.
Oh,
Huskies. I
Huskies.
think the Civic Pub has something
Penny
like
Night.
$3 pitcher. Civic
Oh,
Pub's like $3 pitchers or
okay.
something on
Yeah,
the one
yeah. There
day.
you go.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're advertising that like for like on a Tuesday or a Thursday, right? And
yeah.
you
Full
know,
uniform, full uniform, full war paint, chugging a pitcher. That would have been beautiful. Beautiful.
oh my God, you would have packed it. You would have packed it.
Of course.
Up, yeah, that would have been up. And then all of a sudden, then you turn around and you do the ad for the Hartford. That would have been great.
Exactly.
In his suit,
Exactly.
suit and tie.
Beautiful, clean shaven, speaking in full sentences, enunciating my words. It would have been beautiful.
Oh my God, that's true. I think you brought up a really good point too about um it being un-American that they were not able to get much,
Yeah,
especially your era. You know what I mean? Because
absolutely.
I was in the transition. We like I think when I was a senior, I think the freshmen or sophomores they were the guys that first played maybe moved from FCS to FBS. So I think it was my senior year, the freshman class. Those guys moved
Yeah,
up.
I think that might have been that. Think that was my freshman year too.
Yep. So that group. So once that hit, like you're 100%
Yeah,
right. Like it was really a shame. But even like even now for like those schools from which was the old Yankee Conference and which is now the CAA. Like
yeah.
locally, if you go to University of Maine, there's a probably I'm sure those guys have a lot of
You
places that
kidding
they
me?
go to. So there's always something that they can go and do in their own communities.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
I don't want to get too off topic here, but you just brought up Maine. Just for the other sports too, as well. Like, imagine what a hockey player at the University of Maine could have made. NIL deals back in the 2000s. It would have
oh,
been absurd. There's so much lost income to so many individuals. It's truly not fair.
No, you're right, and I do think so. I have seen. I can't remember who brought it up to me, but but I didn't. I don't think I qualified because I was FCS at the time. Um, there is something there was like a class. I don't know what happened with. There was a class action lawsuit for guys from your era all the way through to when this became live. But I don't know if it's still there. If I ever find it, I remember this was a couple of years ago when it first started. I saw it. I will forward it to you gladly.
Beautiful, thank you. I like free money. I like free money, even though I'm only getting like, fuck, I think I'm getting like 3,200 from EA Sports, which is absurd for using my likeness in every single college football FBS game from I think 2000 to 2005.
Is that what was negotiated on that?
It's something along those lines. Like players are getting like payouts of a couple $1,000s, I think, with EA Sports. EA Sports was the big one that they did the lawsuit with.
Yeah, the college football game, which was a great game.
Yeah, exactly. And like we were like designated by numbers. It was like number 52 on Uconn. He's 6'6", 253 pounds. It's like, oh, he's a big tall white guy. Wonder who that is. Shit.
Right, and you're playing with yourself, and you're like, wait a minute.
Exactly. Number 52, Uconn. It's like, what a great talk about number 52. Like, screw you. Skirting everything, guys. I mean,
Kirk Herbstreit is announcing you, Oh,
yeah, exactly. How much money did the EA pay him? No, but like you're looking at it and like, and no, you brought up a really good point with like Kirk Herbstreit's announcing it, and we're looking at like, wow, how much money did Kirk Herbstreit get paid to use his likeness in that game, while the players all got nothing?
You're 100% right. Kirk Herbstreit was probably raking it in, and then
of course.
There's no doubt about it. Steve, we were just getting you up to quick speed. We haven't launched into our Uconn First Maryland official preview because we talked a lot about we looked at me and Tyler looked at the roster real quick, and we weren't shocked, but we were, I guess, slightly surprised that every new starter for both teams was a transfer.
The transfer, yeah. I read that about Maryland too. Yeah.
Uconn also.
Yeah, and Uconn too. Yeah, Maryland, the quarterback, they brought in a transfer who's probably going to play. And they have 7 starters returning on defense, and the rest all transfers. That's what.
Yeah.
That's got to be killing high school recruiting now. Like these kids aren't going to be able to find homes.
Well, that part. So we talked about the two sides of it, which I thought Tyler brought up a good point.
No, he didn't. Tyler never brings up.
He brings up great points. See, when he's with me as two defensive players, we're able to you know what I mean, talk around the actual facts. Whereas the offensive guys, you have to pick up the blocks.
We were
you have to think about everything before you go through. We could just spitball.
Very structured.
Very, very structured. We could just go.
Yes.
But I understand, Steve, the offensive side since I started out there. That's where I was originally.
I know you were fullback.
I was a starting fullback until Skip came in and decided that I was not the option back that he needed back there. So he flipped me over to the defensive, which was fine. It worked out. I got to start over on the defensive side.
Did they say if Uconn is playing the Wisconsin transfer as a starter, is he going to start?
Yeah.
He is. Okay.
You talking about the quarterback?
Yeah.
That was on our topic list, and so the quarterback is
Nick Evers. Nick Evers.
Yep.
Yeah. He's the guy from Wisconsin.
But Tyler also brought up that the main guy is like the transfers is right on his heels as the second guy. And he's the transfer as well because the freshman they brought in, who's a stud, is 3.
Correct. I saw it.
Like, how do you my question is?
I hate the Hartford Current, by the way.
What's that?
I hate the Hartford Current
because there's a paywall.
What? Who would pay for the Hartford Current?
No one.
All right. I was gonna be a little more judicious. Then you said paywall. I was like, yeah, no. No.
I'm trying to
no.
get news on Uconn, and I can't find anything. The website, all it named was the captains. It didn't give any information on starting battles or the upcoming game. The news was just like really limited. It was camp starts. So and so was named captain. So and so was named comeback player of the year. So it was just frustrating trying to get information about the game. I know Maryland was 8-5 last year. I think 4-5 in the Big Ten. But they lost a lot of guys, and it's the first time they're playing without another Tua at quarterback.
Well, it said they had 7 guys coming back on offense, though. Not
defense, yeah.
It's not Tua, but Tua's brother you're talking about, Tua.
Yeah. It's the first time a Tagliova isn't playing quarterback for them. So they got a transfer that came in. They struggle to run the ball. They have two decent receivers, but nobody spectacular. So I mean, it seems like a good matchup for Uconn.
I mean, the one thing I will say about that, with 10 returning starters on offense, there's going to, even if they weren't the most explosive last year, there's going to be a lot of continuity. They should run efficiently and smoothly, which might be an issue with Uconn with so many new guys. Like they might not be in sync yet. So I think that really might be a key thing in this game, just how the familiarity that the offense on Maryland has. So, I mean, the Uconn defense will probably have their hands full with that. I mean, and they're coming out of Maryland. They'll probably be a couple surprises. A couple of young guys are real explosive. They'll have a couple curveballs in there, most likely.
Well, their running backs are good. I mean, Cam's good. I mean, if they play their style, run the ball, field position, play tough defense. That's how.
And you look at that, Steve. When UConn only has 5 returning starters on defense, 6 new players. Granted, they're all transfers, but you have 6 new players on defense. That's if the communication level's not there yet, you might be looking at a couple busted plays there.
Oh, absolutely. If they blow a coverage, if they blow a blitz, absolutely.
My concern with UConn is that in some of these recent years, they've been very easy to throw against, and
they play very soft. Yes,
Maryland, because I'm not 100% sure if this is the main issue, but in the secondary, maybe a Big Ten recruit versus independent recruit speed.
Right.
It may be a speed issue, not even a scheme issue as much as a speed issue. And then some of those games last year, that would be I think up front, I think, probably somewhat comparable.
They're solid up front.
I think the issue to me, and this is what I always think has been somewhat the issue, and a lot of times when a group of what they call now the group of 6 schools versus the Power 5 school, when a team has a chance against them, unless they got a pass, if UConn has this pass rusher, then I'm wrong. But if they have a pass rusher that can really get after and put a ton of pressure on the quarterback, I think it gives you a better chance. But the issue is the speed, because if it got sometimes these guys have caught literally slants,
and just take them to the house,
or huge gains if you don't tackle them right. So it's just somewhat of a speed issue, and so I think that's and it's not that UConn won't have one guy that could do it, because UConn's had a lot of pros over the years, but it means that collectively in the secondary, they're going to work their way around matchup wise. That's what would concern me, is they work their way around matchup wise to find a situation where they
can take advantage.
That's my biggest concern. I think you're right about the running the ball. I think that's how they're going to have to control the game to an extent against the Maryland. But Maryland, it's
Maryland doesn't run the ball well.
They throw the ball. That's has been his he's a former Alabama assistant.
I love Loxley. Loxley's out of his mind. But
Yeah.
That's a good. Yeah, he is. Yeah, I remember.
He's out of his mind.
He was at New Mexico. He socked one of his assistant coaches. That's why he was
Yeah,
like.
he did a Buddy Ryan on him.
Dave, I think you made a really good point there. Actually, I was reading about this earlier. UConn's scheme and personnel will probably be the Achilles heel for them. From what I read, they're playing a 3-3-5 scheme now. So you need to have those
Don't say
with that scheme, like those rover type DBs. So you play with the free and the two corners. You have those two rover type DBs. You need to have some fast physical guys that can really cover a lot of ground there. And if Maryland's running backs are just grinding it out, that 3-man front's probably gonna get eaten up. We'll probably have to transfer in the middle, big boy. But you double team him, triple team him every time. I don't like unless they switch to at least a 4-man front in certain situations, which I'm sure they'll scheme for it, but I don't think they have the personnel to deal with like Maryland's running attack, like you were saying.
Are they really? They're really playing a 3-3-5?
That's what I read this morning. I mean, I didn't read any of the more recent things about since camp started, but the college football preview that I perused this morning said they're running a 3-3-5.
The only Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, because you coach and I also coach. The teams that do run the 3-3-5, they run it because they don't have the personnel up front. They have athletes. They have good athletes. They linebackers, DBs. They have guys that can run and cover ground. But you play the 3-3-5 to disguise where the fourth guy's going to come from. You try to, disguise it so you don't know where the number 4 guy is going to come from. But it's because you have mostly athletes and you don't have, the talent up front to play 4 men.
Yeah, I mean, there's as your base. So like that's why I've always been like, if you're going to run a 30 front, more of like a 34, which gives you more multiple abilities to go down.
3-4, absolutely.
Because if you're like a true 35, like you're leaving the overhangs there. Now I don't know, I haven't watched enough to know whether they're rolling guys back and how they're doing everything. To be
where they're going
to adapt. I'm certain they have to do some form of that, but I think you're right for the most part. They have the big guy at nose. That's probably why they're utilizing that. So he clogs the middle. They can't run zone inside, I guess. That's what you're trying to hope them to do. You're hoping to get them to move their run game to B and C gaps. And
because they're out of the gun. So
your guys are there. You're hoping your guys are there in B and C gaps, and that's what I think you're doing. The risk is if they load to a side. You know what I'm saying? So the 35
if they go
won't be effective if you're balanced, very balanced. Because you can bring guys. But if you load personnel, whether you're pulling guys or you're lining them up there or some version, however you're doing it, and I've seen his run game. He runs like a Maryland. A couple years ago, they had a really good running back. And they ran like a wing T style run game from gun where they pulled.
They ran that
buck sweep.
Yeah,
from gun, and they loaded you. So if you have a 35 front, that could be an issue. That could be an issue because they're going to have guys coming at them.
Yeah. I think and like you guys were alluding to, one of the things that will really kind of be a pivotal point in that is who's playing on that hybrid and linebacker position. Like if you have a superstar, guy like myself or Uyo Sunday back from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
If you have, or a guy like, a Willie McGinnis type of used to play that kind of position for the Patriots. You have a guy like that can be disruptive off the edge, both drop back and cover and get penetration, disrupt the plays. That can really make it a long day for the offense. But the question is, do they have that guy? And, from everything we've read, I'm not sure they do.
Yeah, the guy, I think on the front side, guy has to be tall and long. On the back side, that guy, so he can handle run if you run right at him, usually on the defensive left, the offensive right. And then that back side has to be like an athlete.
Yeah, exactly.
matters
A guy that can hold the point and cover ground.
You're one-on-one.
Yeah. So that is the question. I mean, I'm looking to see what I see here, but it's
yeah, I didn't look at the videos. I was trying to look.
They list their like our lads list their current depth chart. I don't know if it's changed at all, but it has the current depth chart.
Oh, you do have a depth chart? Okay.
Yeah, a depth chart. Like so that front guy looks like he's 6'3", 230, which is decent size.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's fast enough on that side.
What year is he, Dave?
God, these websites are
no kidding.
The worst, dude. Everybody has to get their money on the ads. That's why.
They don't
like money.
Enough information.
He's like your senior. So he's a vet.
Okay.
He's
I mean, vet. It could fit. Depends on how much you got in the weight room in the off season.
Yep. And and then they have they list the four down guys, but the one guy is probably an up guy in this new offense, which means he's big too. He's
who is the
almost like your size, 6'4". You're maybe you're taller than that, but he was 6'4", 250, 255.
That's the kind of guy you want in that position. Yeah. Just depends on how well he can run. If a guy like that can run and cover ground, then he can be that playmaker they need. Be both the steady edge setter and cover that flat while being disruptive against the run.
I think they're going to have, and then the question is how good the quarterback in Maryland is, because when Tagovailoa was there last year, Maryland was in a lot of these games because he literally was like slicing. They could score a lot of points, and that spread offense he runs where he loves that single. That's why I say he runs that a very effective spread where he runs he gives the ball to the back with that
in the basket.
That wing tee, that wing tee buck sweep to get guys at the point of attack, and then he's throwing off of that backside slant. But and he's spreading.
Are they RPOing it?
I'm pretty sure he is RPO. He's an RPO guy. Yeah, he's an RPO guy.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some level of RPO with what he's doing, because he was at Alabama when I want to say. Maybe right with he was, I think, with Kiffin maybe, and they were running a lot of that stuff there, and all those guys from that era. Look at the Georgia Tech guy, Brent Key. They're all kind of become wildly successful as head coach. Like Brent Key with the upset over Florida State the other day, right? So, Georgia Tech won in that game. So it's those guys have kind of they've taken that Saban philosophy, obviously tough guy philosophy, and both sides of the ball, but they also have innovated, as once Saban kind of let the reins go and innovated offensively, now all those guys that were there were utilized. So they got the whole RPO system. At the same time, they also have Saban's knowledge of discipline and all. So that's why these guys have gone all over the place, and their head coaches all over, and they're all pretty successful to wildly successful. There's very few outright failures of his kind of group of guys.
Coaching tree. Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks like their defense, they have a veteran group. I mean, they're all seniors or transfers. They have one sophomore. The rest are seniors. Seniors or graduate transfers. So they have a veteran group, but it's a group, like Tyler said, that has not played together. So that will definitely be the concern. And then offensively, it's kind of the same deal. We don't know what we're going to get out of Nick Evers. I mean, he's only going to be a sophomore. We know what we're going to get out of Cam Edwards. We know that he's going to be the guy. And then the question is going to be Skylar Bell, who's a transfer. We don't know him, what we're going to get there. And the other wide receiver transfer, TJ Sheffield. We don't know what we're going to get there.
All right. So, and Steve, you spoke about Nick Evers being experienced. And while that is true, He already has like 2 years under his belt, doesn't he? I don't know the
No,
exact statistics
he's only a
timeline.
sophomore. I that's why
Yeah,
that's
but he's been to schools already. He's been to Wisconsin and been to Oklahoma. So I mean, he's been
oh, I
around.
didn't know he transferred
He's
twice.
been. I'm just going
Three. It
off what I
says number
read.
3. You're right.
You're
I'm
right.
just going off what I
Wow, he
read.
transferred twice.
But one of
You're
the things you
right.
think
No,
about
you're
that,
right.
yeah,
I
one one of the things you think about
scares
that
me.
is he's around two big time programs, big time coaches, around the big time recruits. I mean, maybe he just kind of recognized, hey, I'm not this kind of athlete, and he saw UConn as a really good opportunity to develop, and that's kind of what I'm thinking where his mindset is. So I mean, he might come in and he might have been like so good in practice that they throw him right in there. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean he's six
it just
three.
it really depends. It depends on how well he execute. It just depends on how well he executes and if he made the right decision as far as hey, I'm a higher caliber athlete. I want to go here and shine. Maybe that philosophy will pay off. We'll get a highlight reel.
I think you're
I
100%
just
right.
don't know offensively
Oh
what
yeah,
they're
I don't know
doing.
from a hole in the wall.
Dave, do you know what they're doing on offense? Do you know what kind of offense they're? Are they going to be under center? Are they going to be in the gun?
Listen, everybody's going to be multiple, but my belief is that UConn is probably a lot more run heavy just from what they were last year. So the
Good. Okay.
problem is they have Nick Evers. That's why they're going to. I'm sure they're going to throw more, but
Yeah,
my guess is they're going to have
Yeah.
to try to establish the run until he, unless he is that guy. I mean, I've only watched clips of things, and it's so hard to look and really
No, it
know.
is. It's so hard to get a feel for it until
yeah.
get a chance to watch him
Everybody
play.
has to run some version of spread, and everybody has to have, unless you're like, see, Loxley really has they got that like the modified version of run and shoot / air raid.
Loxley's always run that. He's
Yeah,
always
he
run
has that
that.
system. But
Yeah.
UConn is, my guess is going to be they're going to bounce between spread and
Yeah.
power game, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Which I don't like. I don't like that.
I hear what you're saying, Steve, but that UConn really, where they are with personnel right now, they really don't have a choice.
I agree.
I don't
Especially
think
if they scored
I
on
don't
points
think they
against
can
a
beat
team like.
teams running a spread. I don't think they can beat teams in 10 personnel. I think they at least have to go 11 personnel or 12 personnel and use two tight ends or use a fullback. They got to go back to running power. They got to run some counter. They got to get the inside established. I don't see them.
I
I
mean,
don't know if they can
I
run well, but
I hear what you're saying, Steve, and that is definitely a salt of the earth football coach philosophy. But with the modern game, I just don't see them being able to the entirety of the game just based on the personnel of their opponents. When you're playing a program like Maryland, not that Maryland is the stat like the way Edsel put it up, this established storied program. Like they're a very solid program, been a very solid program for years.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
not the upper echelon of the Big
No,
12. But the point I'm making is they have the personnel where, oh geez, UConn is, loading up the box and trying to power us. Let's put our, you know, I don't want to say generic, but like, or run the mill, but guys like that roll off the line at bigger schools. They'll be able to they have the resources to put size in the middle
Well, yeah, they
and
play a
clog it
base.
up.
I
UConn has to be versatile because they
yeah,
don't have the personnel
correct.
to really
stop.
overpower the way a
They,
Yeah,
big program does.
they're
I
gonna
think
have to
the
be-
issue you do have in today's game. Now the SEC is different because they have so many of those dogs, man. Those guys are
Yeah,
dogs on
yeah,
defense.
yeah, yeah.
So Georgia can get in some of those games where they could shut you down and run the ball.
Yes.
They're just they just have those, especially on the defensive front, right?
Yeah, 100%. David's
But
picking up what I'm putting down.
they can get after
exactly.
the
But
quarterback.
if you look at like Maryland's scores last year, right? Their
Mhm.
bowl game, they beat Auburn 31-13.
They destroyed it. Yep.
They beat Rutgers in it's basically a shootout, 42-24.
I watched that game. Rutgers played pretty well until they self-destructed in the second half.
Michigan beat Maryland 31-24. I mean, you're talking about
wow. They played them tough. Yeah.
Now they had some games where they got blown out. Maryland got blown out by Penn State. They actually got beat by Northwestern, who's horrendous. So they were hit. They have some hit or miss in them.
Yeah, they were mixed. Yeah,
but they score a lot of points. That's the thing. Like I think only Nebraska and Penn State really kind of shut them down. And my guess is that they had the defensive front to get after them and have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
That's the question is
keeping them like under 30. Right?
I think keeping them under 30 is going to be hard. I think keeping them under if we keep Maryland under 20, we're probably winning.
Well, under 20, I agree for sure.
Anything over 20 is going to be difficult for us because
agreed.
It's going to be hard for us to. I mean, that you're talking. If we're pounding the ball, it takes up clock, right? So if we have
can't waste possessions,
they can't score quick, right? So if they score quick and we're eating up clock, and they score quick again, there's kind of like a backbreaker thing there.
Yeah, you're done.
But if we can eat up clock and run the ball, keep them under 20 points, I think we have a shot.
Yes.
I think if they come out and so like some of the games last year, it was like even when we came back, like some of these games we came back, but we were down like 21-0 and like
that's when
we're coming back in these games, but it's like, oh my goodness,
it's too late, too late.
It's too late. So you're like kind of looking at it like, oh well, we played well the second half, but like we let it get away early on. We can't let it get away early on. If they come out,
no, they need to start fast. And I would even hate to say this because I don't believe it. Maybe even take the ball. I always believe in deferring, but if you're concerned about the ability of the Maryland offense to score and score fast, you have to take the ball with the tone.
I'm not sure.
I want to defer. I always defer.
I think you got to defer.
Yes, you do, Steve.
I listen. I'm with you. I would always defer.
I think you got to defer unless you know your offense is that much better than the other. You think your offense is better?
If you think their offense is that explosive, and you think you could get behind potentially 7-0 on the first drive, you got to try to take the ball
and run it, grind clock,
and set. I am dead set. I have never, ever wanted to take the ball to start a game. I always defer. I always tell them defer. But in a situation where you have an offense that if we haven't seen the film, we don't know how explosive they are. We don't know how dynamic they are. We don't know what we have defensively to match up. Mm-hmm. The 3-3-5 scares the shit out of me. Just because, the alignment thing, like Dave said, if they go trips with a tight end backside, that is one of the most difficult formations to match up with a four-man front. Now you're in a 3-3-5. How are you matching up to a trip set with a nub tight end? That's very, very difficult. You're going to be weak one way or another.
If they're multiple, they're going to walk up one of the backers,
Yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have to walk them out, and that leaves you vulnerable inside, and that leaves you vulnerable to the backside tight end. That's like what you said. That would scare me. Yes.
Good point, Steve. But that kind of also brings it back to with 3-3-5 scheme, that end rover position. What's that guy's ability to cover? What's that guy's ability to hold the point against the run with that tight end tackle double teaming him? That's going to be a key position in the Uconn defense versus Maryland offense battle of the day. If that player can be real disruptive, then we might see something, and Maryland might have a little bit of a longer day. But if they're just eating that guy up with the tight end tackle double teams, long day for UConn.
No, absolutely. He's got to be able to set the edge
Yeah.
with the tight end, and then he's got to be able to redirect the slot receiver, and he's going to have to be able to run with the slot receiver.
Yeah,
So,
and that's a tall order right there.
But I think, like you said, Dave, if they're playing a 3-3-5, they're playing it for a reason, and they're playing it because they believe they have the athletes for it. They believe that they do not have 4 down linemen who can be disruptive and can control the line of scrimmage. Because in my experience, the only teams that have played a 3-4 or a 3-3-5 are teams that struggle up front.
Well, 3-4 is a little different. So
3-4 is
Giants for the 80s were 3-4, right?
I know. LT was always on the ball. Yes.
You could have big dogs at the defensive tackle spots and a monster nose and basically force everybody wide running the ball to your 6'4", 230-pound
Carl Banks and LT
linebackers, right, who are good enough to cover the flats.
They were.
Right? Good enough to drop in the hook to curl zone.
Correct.
Exactly.
Against the tight end, and obviously are monster blitzers. So 3-4 is a little different.
You're right. Yes,
it's a little different. You're leveraging 2 true safeties for the most part. 3-5-3 is really a dog at safety. Like that is your guy. Like that guy could cover all kinds of space. You're playing multiple coverages, but those other 2 quote unquote safeties are the guys that are walked up in that 3-5. So they're kind of walked up there.
Yeah, the whole thing
a little different
is to disguise where the 4th guy's coming from. It's a blitzing defense. You're going to get sometimes it's meant to actually bring 5.
West Virginia ran it great.
They did.
Rich Rod era. They ran it great. That was when you got. I think when you guys were playing, or maybe a little bit after.
Yeah, that's when they were the first to really do it. They
did a great job of it. Nobody really understood it. It was
because
really
they disguised it well. Because
we ran in high schools I was at for a while during that same era because
people tried it.
It was very difficult to stop. But what happened was people, like I said before, what people learned was if that guy who's the hybrid can't roll back and play safety effectively on both sides. You got to be able to roll back on both sides.
Yeah.
If you can't roll back on both sides effectively, you really have a problem. You could get so many guys to the point of attack run wide. You could load up the one side, run buck sweep back to gun buck sweep back to the weak side, and they're in trouble on the open side. So that's roll back.
Yeah,
that's the issue with the 3-5.
They don't have enough men.
Those safeties aren't those hybrids. In the old days, they could be fast guys. West Virginia era, they could be super fast guys, like 6 feet, 200, 205, and kind of do a lot of things. Now, I think that those guys are different guys in the 3-5. You really have to.
They are.
Because you got a problem. Because that guy also has to walk up and cover a tight end too.
They are.
Tight end.
You got to set the edge. You got to cover the tight end.
He's got to tough enough to be a run stopper if you need be. I don't know.
Yep.
That's the hard part. The modern 3-5 is not like because people like to say, "Oh, the 3-5," because Rich Rod ran it was wildly successful. Yes, high schools across the country ran it.
Everyone tried it.
Wildly successful, but everybody learns the system, right? Yeah. So once you learn the system and you learn the weakness of the system,
exactly.
Now, like when people say, "Oh, I'm gonna run a 3-5," okay, well. If you're playing in a let's use high school or as an example. If you play in a league where no one's ever seen it before, sure, it's going to be wildly effective for a few years. Absolutely.
Yeah, until
a conference that doesn't ever see it, maybe it'll be effective. I don't think in college football today, with all the information that's sharing, that you need to have the right personnel. If you don't have the right personnel, it's really
exactly
like it's a 4-3. If you run the true 4-3 now, you're in trouble too, because those 3 inside linebackers, which I was
run a 4-2.
You can't cover. That guy can't cover good enough.
Sam can't cover the slot.
Nope.
It's
not
really a nickel defense. It's a 4-2 nickel is the base.
42 nickel, right.
The 3-3-5, the only advantage you have is the blitzing because it allows you multiple different blitzes that you can disguise. And if the offense cannot figure out where it's coming from,
that's right.
Then you have a chance.
That's why you just run right at it.
Yeah.
Well, the gap schemes that you talked about, you power and counter,
right,
work against those blitzes. Any gap scheme can work against whatever blitz you.
My fear is UConn throws out that 3-3-5, and Loxley's like, "Yep, we throw 9,000 times," and all of a sudden he comes out and he powers at it on the weak side, and he runs one back power right to the weak side where they get extra guys to the point of attack.
You both make great points there. The key thing with the UConn defense here will be how well the transfer defensive tackle is able to clog up the middle. If he's able to two gap that, like granted, it's probably one gap scheme, but if he's able to regularly occupy 2 blockers, occupy two gaps, this could make it more effective, especially if that rover type end is able to, like you said, both cover that hooks the curl in the flat and get penetration on, like you said, that blitz scheme, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look and see where these transfers are from.
And the hope is also that on the on Maryland side for their offensive linemen that they recruited, that they brought in, those guys that they brought in are more pass heavy guys than run heavy guys.
Oh, I've actually read that too.
So if even if he tries to run at the weak side because of personnel standpoint, those guys are more pass heavy guys and maybe can't do it.
Yeah, but great point, Dave. But again, 10 returning stars on offense, probably most of them on the line. If they put some size and power on in the offseason, maybe they've hopefully they've probably had stress. Really work on that drive block. Really work on that forward force kind of motions. Could be a difference there.
I cannot believe so many of these transfers have transferred twice. This is their third.
Oh yeah,
that just blows my mind.
I'm happy about it. I'm glad these kids have options now.
It blows my mind in college football that these kids are transferring 3 times. I mean,
Steve, modern day free agency, the NCAA owes. Well, they owe me money. Maybe they owe you a little less, but they definitely
don't owe me. We'd have to sue for 2003. The kids from 2016 are getting paid. We aren't. We got paid from the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit. I got a check from the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit. That was my check. I didn't get money for this one.
I froze. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, Dave 1988. I don't think they're going to get paid, but it's going to be interesting to see. I like that. I like that UConn schematically is coming out really. I mean, nobody knows. It's going to be different because you have different coordinators. Fair. So that's going to be an advantage. The quarterback transfer,
big question mark, but he looks promising.
Looks like he's a good guy. The only the question marks I have are the receivers, the two graduate transfers.
Yeah,
Scott Bell and
TJ Sheffield. I mean, he was. I'm looking at it right now. TJ Sheffield was really productive at Purdue. Not superstar numbers, but 116 receptions, 11 touchdowns over 3 seasons. Okay. Yeah, 116 receptions, 11 touchdowns over 3 seasons. Like, very productive. Oh, wow. Not superstar numbers, but super productive.
That could get.
Yeah, exactly.
And Skylar Hill is a Wisconsin guy too, so I like that. I mean, at least they're getting transfers from some Power Five schools. The guard transfer West Coast from Syracuse, and that's what they need. It's just when you have, I think it was 22 freshmen and 27 transfers. That is a massive number. That is just massive.
I don't want to say they're overhauling the program, but the program is very different than it was 3 years ago.
How many transfers do you have? 25, you said?
It was 22 freshmen, 27 transfers. That's a lot. And then next year, Dave, is the 105 scholarships.
I know.
That's when the roster limit and the scholarship limit come together, and it's 105 overall.
And they're gonna kick all the walk-ons to the curb.
Yeah, there's no, and coaches are upset about that because they carry 120, 110, and I talked about a school like Buffalo. How's Buffalo going to fund 105 scholarships?
They're not.
I was about to say the Alumni, but no.
I mean, some schools may stay at 85 and take the rest walk-ons, but it's back to the old days where Frank was talking about where Alabama had 130 guys on scholarship.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just a matter of how much it costs the university.
Well, the university's not starving, so I mean, I think the funding will be there. So I mean, UConn's not.
No, UConn. I don't think UConn will have a problem with it. I don't think UConn will have a problem with it. I have to apologize. I will say this publicly, Mr. Phil Hunt. UConn is not in the red athletically. UConn is very much in the black. And
no kidding.
Yeah,
Steve, you actually argued they were in the red off back-to-back national championship.
I would say it. And
Steve,
Phil,
what the? Like, come on, dude.
They were. I thought they were. You did. You
no, you thought they were.
Or is football in the
football could be in the red? I could see that.
He said, you know how I always would say when I interview people, how do you feel about winning 2 national championships and our athletic department is in the red? Something's wrong. Phil called me and corrected me, and he said, we are not. We are in the black. We've been back in the black for a while, and we plan on growing.
Steve, you and that misinformation.
What?
You and that misinformation.
I know. I had it wasn't. You know what, Tyler? To tell you the truth, it wasn't even misinformation. It was a guess by me. I
guess.
Yeah, I guessed. I guessed that we were.
Good guess. Good guess.
Well, because of not having that football money, I assumed we were in the red because the Big East television contract for basketball isn't massive. So I did not think there was a way that we would be in the black. But we are.
Connecticut's got that insurance money and nothing athletic besides UConn basketball, women's basketball, and hopefully football. So
those are the revenue sports. Yes.
That's
what funds the other sports. And especially, the talks with the Big 12. I like that football would be able to join immediately. The rest of the sports, unfortunately, wouldn't join until 2031.
Oh, really? Is that what it is? Oh.
But I think I'm sorry. I think I misspoke. I think he said football would join in 2030 or 20. Yeah,
that's
or 2028 or 2029. We would take 4 years to upgrade. To be able to compete. So I like that. I like Mike Burton and what he's doing with Husky Central and the collective. You know, they raised $1 million in NIL money. Their goal is to raise $1.5 million for this year.
Mhm.
Doesn't a
And
top quarterback cost a couple of million himself?
I don't think so. I
I
don't
think
think
so.
Nick Evers, really?
Not Evers. No, Evers was probably
Oh,
20K, okay, or maybe 50K. But a top quarterback
yes, yeah. It's gonna
like
cost.
if you were gonna go get I'm not saying Caleb Williams the top, but a guy
Of
maybe
course, yes,
second level, they must be $1 million
Yeah.
yeah.
themselves.
It's gonna be 6, 7 figures to get that
It's
top.
definitely not six figures. The top quarterbacks are definitely
No,
seven,
you're right. The
definitely.
Florida guy who is suing was getting like $14 million a year. He had a 3-year, $14 million NIL deal with Florida,
Yeah, I don't.
and
That one I think was kind of at the time was more someone blowing smoke up their ass to get the money to get him to go there.
exactly.
But it was setting the stage for what eventually is now happening with the quarterbacks, which
Yeah.
which it was a little bit ahead of the time when they said that. Like, I didn't buy that, but now it definitely there is, especially when Caleb Williams went to USC, that really set the whole stage for if you're one of the top probably 5 guys in college football, you're going to get paid a certain amount. If you're the top 20 quarterback,
Who's
you're getting paid X amount.
Who's the Georgia coach?
Kirby Smart.
Kirby. All right. He was quoted last week at saying that all the student athletes agents were calling him.
No, that
asking
was
for
Mike
more money.
Gundy. That was
Oh,
Mike
Gundy?
Gundy, Oklahoma
right.
I
State.
apologize. Yeah,
That's
that's right.
something Gundy would say too.
Yeah. Gundy told the
They all
players.
want more money.
Yeah,
He's like,
Gundy told
I
the
get
players. So he said he was glad that football season was here because now he's going to tell the agents, don't call me until basically the portal opens
Yeah,
again
yeah.
because
There's
it's
nothing to
time to
talk
play
about.
football. Don't ask for any more money. That was basically what Gundy said. At the same time that Gundy did that, by the way, which definitely sounds like something that would come from Gundy, and I sort of because that's just how he is. But he also he was the first
Exactly.
barcodes on. They put barcodes on
Oh my
so they
God! I
can
thought
get
that was
so you can
ridiculous.
directly give the money to the
Yeah.
players
You
directly.
can use your phone and Venmo them.
I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
exactly.
Venmo. I don't know what it is. I tried to
No, I know.
do it, but
Yeah, you're right.
It's a pay portal.
You
it's a pay
can't do
portal.
it from the stands. Though.
Excuse me, it wasn't a bar. It was a QR code.
QR code.
code.
Right.
Yeah.
QR code.
But you can't
QR code to the pay portal. Yeah.
You can only do it from television. You can do it if you're watching TV.
Can you do it for TV, or is that to be in person?
Yeah, it's not meant for in person. It's only meant for television.
Oh, it's meant from TV.
You can only do it from TV. So, but I think I don't like it. But
Are you kidding
you don't
me?
like it? Why?
I love it. I love it. Steve,
I don't know
Steve,
if the QR code is the answer per
generate
se,
revenue.
but it's not a. I
Steve.
think it's along the right path. I don't know if that's the overall answer, but
No,
it is
but
on
it's
the
a
path. Meaning,
Yeah.
Oh no. Like I'm thinking like for like just certain types of players, like guys on the defensive line, like big play guys.
If you
Let's
get a
say
snap,
like
someone's gonna send.
yeah,
you money.
like let's say like you go out and you like you're a D lineman or an outside backer. You go out and you have like a 5 TFL 2 sack game. You get back to the locker room, open your phone, and you got like and you have like 50K in your account from donations, and you're buying all the beers that day. Like hell yeah!
No, I agree. No, I was telling Dave.
Like see, that's why I
beers in a
disagree with
Lambo.
you.
You come out with beers in a Lambo. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I was telling Dave, I'm going to talk to Mike Burton today. The podcasts, I watched several podcasts that have a donation model where they have a Venmo and you donate and they'll do something in return. Like if you donate, they'll read a comment for you. for us, donate and you'll get an autograph from your favorite player, something like that. And they make thousands of dollars a show just by doing that. So, all right, we're taking.
I think it depends on the type of show. Like if it was,
bro, the
Husky
kind of
the
the kind of campaigns I would have done on my social media.
yes, I
would have
think
been,
players.
bro, I would have been like, all right, guys, you donate $1,000. When I get a sack, I'll do the DX job, something like that.
yeah, I'll do a dance for you. Donate this, and I'll do the worm.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I would have been all over that.
Those are some great ideas.
But I mean, that's how a lot of guys were making money. They were getting donos based off the podcast, and using messages, and donate. Hey, this is Husky Talk. Bill donated $50, and he says, "Go Huskies against Maryland."
Well, on YouTube you have super chats, so
yeah, that too.
Yeah, the super chats, like when you get those, you really need to have they're two different things, but you need to have a certain level, I think, of
list of viewers where you
like I've got some super chats, but not like any like massive thing, and I never really promoted it, but I guess you can promote the super chat and saying, hey, if you ask a question, or you want a question asked, pay with the super chat. We'll address your question on air. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea too.
So
exactly.
that gives a little more interactivity. Like, I don't know, like I'm looking here, there's like 15 comments or something. Half of them are nonsense, right? So, like, instead of them post nonsense, you know what I mean? They donate $10, they get their question asked. You know what I mean? So
are they saying nonsense about me? I don't
want there's nothing really, like it's just they just
if like, anyone says nonsense about
anything, they want you to talk about anything but what you're talking about. So
well, they want me to talk about anything, then I'm talking about sports.
Dude, half these comments are in German.
Different, like YouTube versus like the radio, right? The radio, you'll get like direct feedback.
Yes, you get direct feedback.
YouTube, you got bots. You got
you do. You're right.
You got real people that are in there, and they just want to just like get in the comments because they happen to be breezing by your live. Yeah, and they just kind of let me write and then you have real people that are real listeners, right? So the hardest people to get to comment, for the most part, that's where the super chats are valuable. And is that the super chats are valuable, that you encourage the real, like there's 200, I see 250 concurrent viewers on this podcast right now, right? So that encourages those people to interact, where most of the time those people, like when I watch podcasts, for the most part, I just listen, right?
Yeah, I don't interact. You're right.
Right. So it encourages people like us who might normally just listen to things just to get the information or to hear what's going on, to get involved. And that's where the super chat on YouTube, like some of the guys who really use it effectively, do a really good job of that. Whereas like the way they do it on radio is basically, you want to get your message across, you basically pay, a lot of times you're paying for some form of advertising for each episode to get a read. Whereas super chat people can go in and literally like, hey, I gave you, $25.
Right.
Answer. So anyone who are listening to our podcast, if you want to get a super chat, listen, we'll put your questions on air, and I'll send you out a gift. I'll send you out a good gift. So going forward, maybe that's what
and even Tyler's podcast did well. Remember the MMA podcast had 1,500 views, which was very good for the first time.
Oh, the one I launched, yeah. So how about the one with the PFL preview? I didn't see.
It was 1,500 the first time.
Oh, it was. Oh, good.
Yeah, which was very good.
I think MMA will be popular on my.
Phil Hunt's was 5,000. Phil Hunt's got 5,000 views. So that's why I was saying, if you take husky huddle and you take husky talk and you get whatever the pay is.
Right.
And then I think you could try the donation model and see if it works, because if you're getting that many viewers, you should be able to get some donations, and the donations go to your NIL, and that can be used for players.
I think
Steve, that was a very good job. That was a very good job of tying in the business of podcasting into the business of generating income for college football players.
Well, no,
that was a beautiful tie-in. God bless you.
Great job, Steve.
That's what we're doing. We're gonna find out.
I was giving you a compliment.
We are going to find out from Phil Hunt and Kevin Freeman what their proposal is for us.
Well, I don't know if again, we're on live, right? So
yeah, Jesus, Steve, you're talking about the success of our podcast partnership versus the preview for Uconn versus Maryland. Come on, get on point.
I'm saying that we have a successful platform that gives you entertainment. There's no entertainment value like us, and it's worth it.
I mean, that's fair.
And I will go on record. I will predict Uconn defeats Maryland.
Wow.
I don't know what the spread is. Have you seen the spread?
This is without the spread. Straight up beats them.
Yeah, I'm going to pick them to straight out beat them. I think they're going to come out hot.
Excuse me.
I think they're going to play passionately with spirit. And
Jesus Christ, Steve.
They have a message to send. They're going to start off hot, beat Maryland, and then at home next week, dominate Merrimack and beat
If they don't dominate Merrimack, the podcast is over.
No,
so,
pretty much.
Yeah,
Dave.
But I'm telling you, if they start 2-0, it's an 8-win season. I'm telling you.
What is this?
All right. Now let's see. Come back from Fantasyland. Dave, what's the actual spread on this game?
20 points.
Jesus. Okay.
Over under 45.5.
Oof.
Money.
Oof.
Yep. So.
Wow.
So they think Maryland's going to put a lot of points up.
That's a big spread. Well, it's a 3-3-5 defense. I mean,
listen, part of me wants to say that Uconn will cover the spread.
I think
what I'm saying is, I think that would be like a win. I hate the term moral victory, but if they cover the spread, that is a moral victory for them.
No, it is. I agree. But I think you're going to see a showing from Uconn. You're going to see something different. You're going to see something unexpected. You're going to see a defense that is fast, runs to the ball, tackles well, is physical, plays multiple coverages, runs multiple blitzes, and will get home. Whether it's to the quarterback or the running back, they're going to get home. They're going to confuse the offense because they have no tape. They've not studied Uconn's 3-3-5 or however they're running it. Offensively, I just hope Uconn is not multiple. I don't want them. I don't want them in the gun in 10 personnel. I want them. If you want to be in the gun and run 11 personnel, fine. If you want to be under center, 11, 12 personnel, fine. I think that is their strength. They have an offensive lineman who's a finalist for one of the awards. They're good up front. They have 2 good running backs. That is where they can win the game. That will make the difference. If they can run the ball, and then Dave, they run the play action off of it. You keep 6 in, run long play action, hard ball play action fake, get the ball downfield to your receivers. Your 2 receivers are transfers. The one's from Wisconsin, and the other Tyler said was from where?
Purdue.
Purdue.
Oh no,
You got two.
wait.
Two
No,
train-
Purdue, and I don't have the other wide receiver written down. One's TJ Sheffield's from Purdue.
Yeah, the
and I
other's
don't
from
have.
Wisconsin. So
Okay.
I think you got two good receivers. You establish the run, hardball play action, throw the ball downfield, max protect if you can't protect. Run 3-man routes, 3-man route combinations. You can run post wheel. You can run double posts. You can run the deep dig. You can run the dig and the drag. So you have high lows. I mean, I think those are schemes that can work. Dave, what do you think for as far as play action, passing game? I don't like it as much from the gun. I like hardball play action under center, 11 personnel, keep 6 in with the tight end, and run 3-man route combinations. You can run high low with the dig and the drag.
Yeah, the drag's going to be a big. If you're running regular play action, you're going to be running. You're going to have to run the drag across the field or drag them
in a dig, or you run the double post.
And then you got to run the. If they have like tight, if they're running that kind of personnel, the tight end with the sniffer, and they give the action to the back to the strong side, the sniffer comes across to the weak side. Yeah. You see that in the NFL all the time.
I love that.
That's a good play.
He comes across and runs into the flat.
Yep, he runs into the flat, goes behind the line.
Yeah, the naked. Yeah, I like that too.
Yep. So it's I think that's a good play too. From under center.
Thing is, with all these transfers, will they have the continuity on offense to do that yet? That's a big question.
We don't know. That's what I'm saying. We really don't know because it's so different. They have. I mean, they have a freshman starting at right guard. That could be a shit show. But they have the rest are seniors. They got a senior tight end, a senior right tackle, senior center, junior left guard, and then the left tackle is a senior. And one of them is on the watch list for best offensive lineman, which is good.
Oh, what was that? Okay.
But Dave, is the quarterback you said the freshman Nell Brown? No, that's not him. I'm sorry. Cole Welliver. Cole Welliver is the freshman they like.
Yeah, well, he's the third stringer though. He's third string.
Okay, but is that who you were talking about?
I wonder if he doesn't play this year, if you see him transfer out.
But I'm asking, is that the freshman you were talking about that you thought was?
Yeah, he was supposed to be a big time guy. He's like 6'5" and.
Oh, that's the guy we talked about. Yes.
Big QB.
6'7". Yeah, he's 6'7", 220. He's from Texas, Liberty Christian.
Oh, okay.
That's a good school. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But again, 6'7", 220 offensively, what do you do with that? I mean, that really limits your zone read game if you're going to run that. You got to run RPOs.
Well, you can run a pro style offense with it. So
which I'm for.
They're not. I mean, they're probably doing some version of that, but which is probably why they recruit him. But he's probably just not ready at that age.
Which I'm for. I'm for. Yeah. I think Randy Edsall. They go back to his method of winning, which was ball control, time of possession, field position, tough defense. We run the ball. That's how they won games.
Round one. What did he do in round two? I'm curious.
He lost everything.
So I'm saying, did he change anything though? That's my question. Did he change it? In the modern era.
He brought in an OC from Auburn, and they tried to run the spread.
Oh, they did. Okay.
and
Okay.
it just failed.
Back.
Yeah, it just didn't work because you're at Rentschler Field, you're playing on grass, it's windy. I compare it to playing at Giant Stadium.
Right.
You know, Giant Stadium was tough to play at because of the wind and the weather. You have the advantage of that at Rentschler Field. So you know that a spread offense where, you know, you're throwing wide receiver screens, you know, you're throwing a bubble screen, you're throwing the inside blast screen, the jailbreak screen. That's going to be tough to execute in the weather. But if
That's
you
fair. Very
if you
fair.
got two backs, you're running power, you're running counter, you're running some outside zone, and then the play action off of it. That is where that is where I think you have an advantage because teams don't run that anymore. Teams don't see it, and you are using the weather to your advantage. Now the weather is hindering your offense.
Steve, I don't often say this, but that's a very, very good take right there. I fully support that. I agree with you right there.
What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sure what I think will work. So I do agree that
We don't know. Yeah, we
I think in Rentschler you're probably right. You guys played in Rentschler. I played in Memorial Stadium. so there
but
was
it's the same thing
no
with
enclosure.
there.
So
Yeah,
you
agreed.
definitely were throw the ball too much, and with
It's grass.
the zero enclosure. But I think you're right. Anytime you're in New England, especially as you get towards October, that's an advantage to be able to do that. Anybody home, they're probably at a disadvantage when they go to Maryland in the summer because
It's going to be 85
that's a
degrees.
disadvantage, right?
Absolutely.
But
85, dude, up to 90, 100. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
I agree with
it could be a hot ass day, early
I
September in
agree.
Maryland.
I agree. It is not going to be a fun trip.
I
But
think they could cover though. I do think there is a chance they could cover because
they
think
got to cover. They got to cover.
I think yeah.
Maryland doesn't have a quarterback. They don't have a freaking quarterback.
Well, you don't know what this guy. It'd be hard for me to believe that he doesn't have a quarterback, being a guy that throws the ball around. Like
I know it's.
I just am like that would be like the way I look at recruiting now is your style of offense dictates of what kind of guy you're going to get. So if you're a quarterback, like, and you're transferring and you're looking at places, Loxley can throw the ball, you're probably going to get, like, in today's era, you're not stuck. You could get a good quarterback. You could actually get a guy. Okay, how much money do we have to pay this guy? This is what we have. All right, we're going to get a certain level of quarterback, right, to do the job. Same thing for Uconn. You know what I mean? Okay, this is the offense we want to run. Okay, what kind of quarterback do we have? This is what, the budget we have for this guy. This is the kind of quarterback we can expect. I think most teams that are at least decent and above are going to try and have either a guy inherently in-house that can do the job what they have, or go get a guy that literally fits their need. And if the quarterback is not good, it's really their fault, because you can go get the kind of guy that fits your system.
Yeah, there's so many options right now.
Yeah, you don't have to constantly change your system to adapt to what quarterback you recruited 2 years ago, right? You have your system. If the guy's there is a starter, he works out great, awesome.
Thousands of kids in the transfer portal.
You go get a guy to fit your system.
Find someone that fits.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way you do it. And so my guess is that UConn probably and Maryland have guys that fit whatever they want, what they're looking to do. The questions for defense is, do defenses have the personnel to stop that guy? So.
And
but the bad teams, I don't know. Some of the, like Merrimack, which is an FCS, like, I don't know what they're able to get. I have no.
They used to be Division II. They're a very good Division II school.
Oh, they were okay.
I don't know how they've been since they've transitioned to FCS. So that'll be interesting to see. But for this game, It's going to be feeling each other out. You're going to see UConn's got 2 new coordinators. You're going to find out what they have and what their schemes are, what they're doing within the first quarter.
What their tendencies are as well.
And then we'll have an idea.
You want to go before we get off? Want to go some score predictions?
I'll do that. Okay.
You predict them to win, so make sure yours has UConn on the plus side here.
Okay.
You go first.
All right. I got to go first. UConn struggles to score points.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go 24-21 UConn.
24-21 UConn. Okay.
That's where I'm going with.
Tyler, what do you think?
What was the spread again?
20
and a half maybe?
Okay. I'm going to go Maryland 33, UConn 20.
I'm kind of along the lines with Tyler. I think 37-20. I think UConn's going to have the opportunity to score or 37-21, something like that.
Yeah.
I think UConn's going to have the opportunity to score. I think they will. I think think the hard part is going to be stopping Maryland. And by the way, I hope I'm wrong.
We all do.
I hope
we
I'm
all
wrong.
do, but we're realists.
We all do. We have to tell it like it is. It is.
Valid.
But if anyone's donating, Steve Cully, I guess, gets the biggest donation because he predicted UConn.
Yeah, most likely.
Dave.
Me and Tyler only get it from the Mike Loxley Fund.
Exactly.
Dave, I didn't even ask. Had you met Tyler before this or no?
I was on the one time briefly. Which podcast?
Oh, the MMA one. Yeah, when we did Money.
Okay, the MMA one. Yeah.
But you never met him in person.
You mean in person? No, I don't think we've ever met in person. No.
Okay.
All these years we've never met in person.
I don't think so. I don't. I mean,
dude, at this point, I forgot more people than I remember.
I'm trying. Like, we may have been because you played with Yui, right? You played with
yeah.
Yui, and you played with who else? Did you guys play with?
You played with Orlovsky.
Yeah.
And who else was on some of your teams that might have been like older than you guys? Like, was Phil in school when you were in school?
No.
Oh,
No.
Okay. Was Burton in school when you were in school?
No, I played with Mike.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
Tyler,
CJ Hessel, Durfus,
Mar Wilkins,
Corey Durfus, CJ Hessel.
Corey Durfus was in school with you guys. Okay, so was he here when you guys were freshmen, maybe?
Tyler,
yeah, he was a freshman when I was a senior. I was a freshman. He's a senior. Steve Darby, I played with Steve Darby as well.
Okay, they were all freshmen when I was. I think they were freshmen, right? Because they were like the first class to be Division I, right? So I think they were freshmen when I was a senior. I definitely remember Corey and Steve. They must have been freshmen when I was a senior. Okay, so those guys, and then some of the guys in the class after them. Oh gosh, who might have been that?
Randall Poole, Terry Cawley.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Wes Timko was our receiver. Sean Feldison was one of the receivers. Tommy Collins, my man, was.
Tommy Collins.
I think I've met Tommy.
The TC, yeah, he's met you. And then defensively, they were incredible up front. They had Tyler, they had Uwe, they had Mulcahy, and they had Smoot, and they were a force. And then Fincher and Mo Lloyd were the linebackers.
James
Hargraves and Lundy played.
Right.
Roy Hopkins.
Roy Hopkins, I know. Roy Hopkins was a freshman, I think, when I was.
Roy, I love Roy.
Or maybe he might have been because I went to grad. So I was my 5th year. I was in grad school, and I was still there a 6th year finishing up grad school.
He was there.
So I think Hopkins might have been a freshman when I was there this year. So I knew some of those guys because they were friends with Shane and
Carl
Bond and Phil know those guys. So
and then Chris Meyer.
Yeah, we probably
Justin Perkins.
Yeah. Okay.
Kirk was the other corner. Yep.
Because I haven't been to I haven't been back in a handful of years.
Well, that's why they asked me if we had a get together for the Merrimack game. Would you go to it? Is there enough time to put a
what's the date of the game?
It's a week from Saturday. Because I didn't know when your kid plays.
My kid plays a week from this
Does he
Saturday.
is it Saturdays?
We play that Saturday. It's September 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we play Saturday night, my son. So
okay, so they always
usually we play Sunday. So most Saturdays are actually really good.
Okay,
but because we usually play Sunday, but there are like a few of these games that are on Saturday.
Yeah. No, so, they asked me to try to plan an event for one of the games, and I put it on the podcast.
Yeah. I'll look at the schedule because a lot of guys from your generation and older, right, haven't come back as much.
Yeah, I know. That's why they asked me to do it. So I
used to come back all the time. The first 10 years, when I was out.
No, I know.
I came back a lot. I came to watch you guys play quite a bit.
I know you did. I know you did.
But I then there came a point where it was like the same outreach. That's what's changed, So it was like, but my son is asking to go, so he wants to go. So there's no doubt that
schedule and find a game.
We'll find, yeah.
How far of a drive is it for you, Dave?
It's probably 3 hours from where I live.
That's what it is for me too. Okay. And Tyler's a little bit closer, right?
Yeah, I'm like an hour and a half.
Okay.
So you could go. All right.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. No, because I just did a podcast with Robert McLean, who played in the NFL, Uconn guy. He was on the 09 team. And he wants to go back. So we're trying to plan something. So I'll figure out what game is best. I talked to Sean Rabinowitz. He said the noon games are tough and the night games are tough. So if there's an afternoon 3:00 game, that would work best. So we'll check the schedule, but he said we got to get the band back together.
The noon games are probably decent for a lot of people in the sense that they can get in, go hang out for a little bit, and then the 3:00 games put you in a little bit of a bind, meaning you're either.
That's what I thought. I didn't think.
And the night games you can make it's a different decision because you're staying over anyway. So
that's what I would like the night.
Either noon or night, I think to me, you know what I mean.
I agree. He thought the 3:00 was better, but I agree with you. I like the noon or I like the night, and I think we would have a lot of fun. But like we talked about, the first one just has to be. Let's get the family back together and have a good time, and then we'll go from there.
Agreed.
Perfect. All right, let's get off this podcast. It's been great. We covered a lot of stuff, man. We covered a lot. Hopefully Uconn gets it done. Hopefully me and Tyler are raw.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.
A lot of people have questions about your ending.
I know they do. That's great. That's what I want. I want them to question everything and think I'm as weird as can be.
What do you think, Steve? What do you think you're as weird as can be?
Okay, I am as weird as can be.
Exactly.